One of the problems we have in leadership is that when people ascend into some offices like the office of the governor, they now want to become perfect. Imperfect human beings who just become something and they just turn around to become perfect, And so everything they do, even their mistakes, they try to explain their mistakes and make it look like that's actually supposed to be the standard. That's not the man, Pastor Umo Eno. He's authentic. Pastor Umo Eno has not closed from the office in the last 8 months earlier than 10 p.m. I'm not talking about sitting down to drink tea and coffee. I'm not talking about walking around to gossip. I'm talking about treating files when he's in the office. And so if Pastor Umo Eno tells you, Morgan, I need you to be hardworking. I need you to get on your seat and deliver on this project in the next 2 months, you can't complain because he's modeling what he's demanding. His Excellency has approached governance from a completely design thinking, need assessment basis. He's not just doing things for political reasons. He's doing things because it is meeting the genuine needs of the people. He hopes to leave Akwa Ibom as a happy state. That he hopes to leave Akwa Ibom as a state where everybody is satisfied with the impact, the projects, the policies of government.
Hello. It gives me great joy to welcome you to the maiden episode of the Golden Era and You podcast. This podcast will help you track the promises of Pastor Umo Eno to Akwa Ibom people as embedded in their RISE agenda and the progress made so far. On this special episode, we are playing host to Barrister Morgan Ekanem, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Special Duties, and we are discussing Pastor Umo Eno, the man, his vision, and his mission. Don't go anywhere.
The Golden Era and You, with amazing Aniebiates Francis, tracking the promise and the progress.
Barrister Morgan Ekanem is the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Special Duties, and he's joining us in the studio today to tell us more about Pastor Umo Eno, his experiences working with him, and his commitment towards delivering all his campaign promise to our Akwa Ibom people. Welcome to the show, Barrister Morgan Ekanem.
Thank you so much. It's a very awesome feeling I have here, being asked to speak about Pastor Umo Eno, somebody who has shown me enormous love, somebody who trusts me with a lot of responsibilities in just under about 9 months of his reign as the governor of Akwa Ibom State. And I must say that this is a beautiful initiative from you, the Golden Era, and you. One of the problems people have about government is the fact that they can't relate their promises to the progress. And some people do not even know what initiative the government is about per time. So I think that your podcast is going to fill in that vacuum between the government and the governed. And to speak about Pastor Umo Eno, I think it's one of the most honorable things I would have to do in the year 2024. So exhilarated to be here, and I thank you for having me.
Pastor Morgan has just given me my flowers and I'm taking it. Thank you so much for appreciating our job here. So let's get to the business of the day. What is that thing that makes Pastor Umo Eno stand out for you as a leader and a governor?
Well, for me, a lot of things about the man, Pastor Umo Eno. He's a kind man. He's a sincere man. He's a very sensitive governor. He's responsive, and I think to crown it all, he's a promise keeper. I try to explain these in perspective, because sometimes people may not see qualities like being kind, being sincere, being responsive as being important in leadership, particularly at the level of being a governor. Maybe this would be needed to be a pastor, maybe this would be needed to be a class teacher, but some people may not appreciate that these qualities are also required in political leadership, in offices like when you are the governor of this state like Akwa Ibom State. But the man we have presently as the leader and governor of Akwa Ibom State is extremely kind, is extremely sincere, is extremely compassionate and responsive. Now, why is kindness relevant or required in leadership at the level of governor, which is what Pastor Umo Eno brings to the table? It is that when he sees the people yearn for a thing, his heart is moved towards them and he makes efforts to try to fix them. Some months ago, we had residents of Udoinwang Street, during the peak of the rainy season. They were complaining that their houses are going. The flood waters were, moving into houses. People were losing properties. And All what was required was for the people to go on Facebook and to start crying and to send pictures to him. And immediately he responded. And today, Udoyewang Street is no more the flooded area in Uyo. That is what kindness does. He is sincere. When he says this is what he's going to do, he means that is what he's going to do. He's responsive. Some leaders are really, really just too rigid. They may come with a 5-point agenda. I'm going to cut your hair. I'm going to clean your shoe. I'm going to button your shirt. And that is what they will do no matter what happens. But that's not Pastor Umo Eno. He's responsive. So he could be on his way to Ekanem local government, for instance, and somewhere in Ekanem, he finds somebody who is sick and dying. Pastor Umo Eno would respond. He would stop and attend to that particular need before heading to Ekanem. So he listens to the agitations of the people. And I think just to cut it here for now, he's a promise keeper. There is not one thing yet that he said he's going to do that he's not doing. At least for those he has not completed, he has started. For those he has not started, he has explained, which is the thing about governance. The requirement is not really that when a man speaks, he does everything. But it is that your followers should see the intentionality and the sincerity on your part. That the ones you've not been able to do, you openly explain to them and say, these are the limitations, these are the challenges. And this is everything, Pastor Umo Eno. And this is what stands him out for me. He's a human being and he displays his authenticity. He comes to the table and says, I'm not the best guy there is, but I have the best team there can be. So I trust that with my team, we're going to deliver this. And he makes you, the team member, feel the worth of your contribution to whatever he's doing. Whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. Imagine when a man his age calls a boy my age literally and says, Morgan, if I don't succeed, it will be because you didn't do your part. And when you hear those kind of things, it sends some kind of adrenaline to your system and you just want to do well because you know that this man trusts you. So that's about the man, but there is so much more. But I think that's the size of it for now.
Oh my God, I just love everything I'm hearing. It reminds me of my journey at the More Leadership Academy, where we had thought that a leader cannot be 100%, but a team can be 100%.
Absolutely.
So now, as the Chancellor of More Leadership Academy, can you tell us the leadership qualities of Pastor Umo Eno that makes you sure and convinced that he is going to succeed?
I was even thinking that you try to avoid mentioning the fact that I'm the chancellor of the More Leadership Academy.
Leadership.
But since you've mentioned it, I think the time has come for you to increase your fees at the academy. Well, Pastor Umo Eno, he's a great man. He's really just a combination of many goodness. And judging him from the perspective of leadership, I think I begin just from where you stopped, that he's an authentic leader. And what does this mean? Is that he embraces his vulnerability. He knows that he's a human being. You see, one of the problems we have in leadership is that when people ascend into some offices like the office of the governor, they now want to become perfect. Imperfect human beings who just become something and they just turn around to become perfect, And so everything they do, even their mistakes, they try to explain their mistakes and make it look like that's actually supposed to be the standard. That's not the man, Pastor Umo Eno. He's authentic. He shows up on the floor and says, I don't know this thing. I remember a particular day we were in church and he's speaking and he's like, okay, so Abby, he calls his daughter, Abby, I sent you to school. You are the one that knows the English. Please, what's this word? And Abby mentions it from the audience and he picks it and says, yes, that's the word. I pay school fees for her. Now, what this does is that he is connected to everybody in Akwa Ibom State, the high and the low, the English-speaking people and the Pidgin-speaking people, the Ibibio-speaking people and the Anans, everybody, because he's able to come low when he's required to come low. He's able to go high when he's required to go high. He's able to stay in the middle when that is what matters. He flaunts his vulnerability, so it becomes difficult to criticize the man. What does this guarantee? It is that when a man is authentic, he allows other members of the team to bring their competence to the table. Because he has told you, I don't do football. You are the football guy. Come and do it for me. So you come to the table realizing that for him to succeed, he's depending on your productivity in this field. So an authentic leader increases the productivity of the team members. And that's what Pastor Umo Eno is doing now. I therefore know that for sure, he is going to succeed because everybody on his team is already motivated. They are energized to bring their best self to the table. Beyond being an authentic leader, Pastor Umo Eno is also a transformational leader. From the word transform, he seeks to move people from where they are to where they ought to be. He considers every member of the team as a unique individual. He represents what he wants you to become. Take, for instance, Pastor Umo Eno has not closed from the office in the last 8 months earlier than 10 p.m. So I'm not talking about sitting down to drink tea and coffee. I'm not talking about walking around to gossip. I'm talking about treating files when he's in the office. And so if Pastor Umo Eno tells you, Morgan, I need you to be hardworking. I need you to get on your seat and deliver on this project in the next 2 months. You can't complain because he's modeling what he's demanding. Most times what we have as problems in our leadership sphere is when leaders do things like, you do what I say, not as I do. When a leader is flirting, playing, rocking, traveling around the world, and the 1 minute he steps into the office is like shouting on everybody. Now, your followers may not be able to comment, but the reality is that if that is how you're leading, they're like, who's this guy? If you are back, calm down though. But really, nobody can say that to Pastor Umo Eno because you see him get to the office at 10 a.m. and you see him leave the office at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And as he's leaving the office at 10 p.m., he has fixed meetings for 11 p.m. at the lodge. So those of us who are living at 10 p.m. were the lucky ones. People like Basi Achibong are never going to go anywhere because, because he would have to be there until His Excellency is done with his last appointment. So he is modeling what is demanding from us. And beyond that is the fact that he's interested in your becoming, not just about his success as the governor of Akwa Ibom said. I'll give you an example.
The Golden Era and You with amazing Aniebet Francis.
I like to just introduce myself as Morgan Ekanem. But then the man comes on the scene and picks up the microphone one day and says, do you know that this boy is a lawyer? And I'm like, okay. He said, do you know that this boy is a lawyer? I'm just quiet somewhere in the background. He calls me to come up and he says, you're not an MC. You are more than an MC. I'm quiet. Okay, where is this man going to with this? And the next time he say, do you know he's studying for his PhD? I'm like, why is he doing this? But beyond declaring these things is that 2 weeks ago, I needed to go to defend my thesis. And I sent him a message. I'm like, please, sir, I need to travel to defend my thesis. In less than 1 minute, he replied and said, everything education I support, go today. Now, what does that mean? I do not need a PhD to function for him in my present role. Some leaders would perhaps say, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. You will be busy. Why are you going for this? No. He says, everything education I support. Now that is him thinking about my becoming for myself, not for himself. And that's transformational leadership. But what does that do in leadership and for him and for me? When a follower realizes that the leader is interested in him, for him, the follower unknowingly, without force, also becomes interested in the leader for the leader. Now, so when I work hard for Pastor Umo Eno, I'm not working hard for him just because I want him to succeed. I'm working hard for him because I realize that in his success is my success. Because I realize that he cares more, not just for his success, but also cares for my success.
For the first time in my life, I saw a governor get birthday cakes to celebrate his aces. I was like, is this happening in my time? And that was either their concert.
It's not just getting birthday cakes. It's the fact that he's the one to raise the birthday song. He's the one that is the one to sing for She's a Jolly Good Fellow. It's the fact that in Idara's case, for instance, he would collect the camera and try to snap Idara. It's the fact that there is this Princeton guy who is a DSS official in our office who wears, the guy is always wearing some kind of beautiful shoe every other time. So His Excellency calls him the shoe master. And every time he sees the guy,
he takes notice of every time he sees
the guy, he would look at his legs and say, what's the name of your shoe today? And the guy would mention. But that's not the end of the narrative. It is that 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, His Excellency gave Idara an instruction to snap that guy's leg every time he sees the guy and do a photo album from it. 3 weeks ago, Idara delivers the photo album to His Excellency. His Excellency takes the guy, does literally a press conference for the guy, gives the guy 1 million naira, says, go ahead and buy these shoes, and gives the guy the photo album. Now, what does that do? Something I teach sometimes, I say, one of the things a leader needs to do is to see his followers. You must see them. See them when they buy a new shirt. See them when they're struggling. See them when they're smiling. And try to get into the mood. When they're happy, tell them you're all excited today, what's happening. When they're sad, tell them what's happening. You're not as active as you used to be. When a follower sees that you see them, they will see your work. So now, most of us see Pastor Umo Eno's work, not just because of the work, but because he sees us. There is so much about that man. And he has brought humanity to leadership. It was Ekanem who used to talk about not politicizing humanity, but humanizing politics. I think that Pastor Umo Eno is the fullest definition we can have for that aphorism.
Oh, Akwa Ibom, I believe at this point you are convinced that we struck gold with Pastor Umo Eno as our governor. Now let's talk about his project. The one project per local government initiative. How far so far?
Well, very far so far. I think that's how I like to start. Now, this is something that is close to His Excellency's heart and is also close to my heart as his lieutenant, particularly in that matter. What's the idea behind it? I think that's where we want to start. It is that His Excellency is trying to democratize development. What do I mean by that? You see, most times leaders ignore the genuine agitations of the people and they try to impose their ideas on the people. So you put a street light at the center of the street in a village that doesn't have water, a village that doesn't have roads, a village that everybody is hungry, a village that nobody can afford to do anything with the development you brought to that place. Now, that is one of the reasons you see that people vandalize government properties. People destroy the investment of government. It is because the investment does not benefit them. That is one. And number two, because they were not considered in the process of choosing the investment. So by the time you're coming to build an antenna in front of my house, when what I wanted was water, I'll still have to pass through your transformer to go and get my water. And every time I pass through the transformer and suffer to get my water, I am irritated by the transformer that has taken my space. But if I want water, and you have the kindness to come and ask me what I want, and I say I want water, and you give me the water, my God, nobody will come close to the water for purposes of destruction because you met a need. Now that's the idea behind the one project per local government initiative. So His Excellency conceives the idea and transfers it and says, Morgan, reach out to the stakeholders of each of the local government areas. Let them tell you what they want. And he gives them a threshold. It can be primary school, it can be primary health center, it can be water, it can be market. So now when these people write to us, we just go on to execute. And then you see, the golden era has come with a lot more than what we had dreamt about. So it is no more an era of one stakeholder in a local government taking all the decisions. We must see at least 25 signatures saying that we want water before the water can be executed. That is to say that democracy, which is what we talked about, is really becoming the reality. No, because some of the problems we have is that during election, Abraham Lincoln's definition of democracy works out. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But after election, democracy is never again government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It becomes government of the people, by the governor, for anybody he chooses. It's never again for the people. But it is now for the people because the people have been given opportunity to contribute to what will become the dividend of this democracy. So that's what we've been doing. And His Excellency's desire is that before 2026, when election would have started, each local government should have 4 projects. Now, this is beyond the legacy project. This is beyond the roads. This is beyond the mega things that he may still have to do, like the industrial park, like the elderly citizen center, and all of those great things he's already doing. But this one is local government specific, and it falls directly in their RISE agenda under rural development. So far, very far, and there is so much more coming ahead.
That is quite an impressive scorecard. And there's a notion that authentic leaders are usually not politically correct. You've talked about the governor getting stakeholders to agree amongst themselves that this is what we want. How is that affecting, how is that impacting on his political journey? As a leader, he's a leader, a governor, and he's also a politician.
If the leadership is born out of a democratic process, then the more the merrier, because we're talking about democracy being politics, election being a game of numbers, and you're bringing more people on board. You're trying to give power to more than just one person. Now, I think that is even some kind of security, some kind of guarantee for the man that if this man decides to go to FYP tomorrow, this man is still going to remain. One of the problems we have when they close the window of participation in government and politics is that if one man in a Seludem local government area, for instance, decides to leave the party to another party, it looks like everybody has left because power was concentrated on one man. But when power is decentralized, it's in more than one hands. When we come to the table, you realize that even if you left the table, there are still 24 people who are still sitting on the table who still have access to the controls of power. You realize that you're just one man out of the team. And a team of 25, if they lost one, can still stand. So I think that for me, it is a step in the right direction. I mean, one of the things people really complained about before now was the absence of inclusivity in governance. And Pastor Umo Eno has come to include everybody. It reminds me of some adverts back then. They would talk about Mama, Papa, and Pikin. Now, so right now we have Mama, we have Papa, we have Pikins there, and all of them are now part of the government. So if Mama no dey, Papa could dey. If Papa no dey, Pikin could dey. But at the end of the day, what His Excellency is trying to achieve is to make sure that really everybody has a bite of the cake. He's a utilitarian. So he's thinking about the greatest number of good to the greatest number of people. He wants everybody to have a bite of the sherry, however small. What we had right before now was that one person has the entire cake. In fact, not just the cake, he has the cake producing factory.
That's why we said that people believe that politicians always want everything for themselves. But now, from what you have said so far,
that politics has changed.
With the arrival of Pastor
and I think it's a change for good. I think that needs to be emphasized because change can be change for bad, but this is a change towards a positive change. So I think what we just need to do is to wait and see what is going to happen. To wait and see that those days when a man coughs, there are some men who would cough, and everybody will be like, wow, this man is going to lose because this man has coughed. But you're going to have a situation where one man coughs and 24 people coughs back at him, and more like, we are here, sir. Okay. Let's see how that.
So let's look at the road construction. I know the governor has been visiting local governments, President Umo Eno to flag off the road project. And what is the motive behind that? I know that Governor Umo Eno did lots of road constructions, and Pastor Umo Eno is even doing a lot. How does that impact on their rights agenda?
Let me begin on this note that every government in Akwa Ibom State, for me, since I became politically aware, have actually been doing well on the subject of road construction. That is why Akwa Ibom today can boast as the state with, I think, the best road network in Nigeria, apart from Abuja, maybe. We are really, really doing well in the aspect of road, and that's because every successive government has come to add a block on what the previous government may have done. But Pastor Umo Eno's approach is a bit peculiar. On Thursday, we were in a Seludem, and the chairman of the Seludem local government area was speaking. He said, Your Excellency, if this road was to be nominated by a politician, they wouldn't have nominated this particular one. He says that if this road was given to somebody for political compensation, then this would not have been the road. Because the political leader of Seludem is not from this area of Seludem, but you have come here because you have genuinely assessed the need of the people, and this is the road that will matter in the months to come. Now, what am I saying that to say? His Excellency has approached governance from a completely design thinking, need assessment basis. He's not just doing things for political reasons. He's doing things because it is meeting the genuine needs of the people. Take, for instance, this road we're talking about. The two roads, in fact, that we flagged off last week. The first in Ekanem, and the other one in Ekanem and Etemekbo. The road in Osakana, we had to pass through Abia State to get to Obodokara to go and flag off a road. We had to drive for well about 3 hours to get to the venue, whereas that is a road that won't take up to 30 minutes to get to. We passed Obingwa local government area of Abia State to get to that road. Why? The bridge that was to connect the local government headquarters to Osakana had collapsed many years ago. So the people of that part of Akwa Ibom State were literally closer to Abia State than they were close to Akwa Ibom State. So every time any of them needed to come to Ntoedino Uyo is too far. Ntoedino, the local government headquarters, they had to go through Abia State and now turn to. Now, imagine a community that has stayed for 37 years since we were created without any meaningful road, for instance. Imagine what happens when the governor gets into that kind of place. Imagine what happens when the people would say things like, you can pull up the video too and listen to. The people would say things like, we had our son as governor who didn't come here. We had our son as deputy governor who didn't come here. But we've had a man from Ekanem, from Ibibio, who has remembered us in the first year of his administration. Most times politicians go to those kind of places when it is 3 months to the election. They bring tractors, they open the road, and they tell you we're doing this road and we're completing it in 6 months. But immediately they win. The tractors are withdrawn. But this is a man who has gone the first year, which means that this is not politics. This is development. And then you see, when people say, okay, he is not a politician, I really wonder what is politics. Because at the end of the day, politics is meeting the needs of the people you know you will need. So that when you need them, they will be there for you. I cannot think of the people of Osakana voting for any other person. And then the road linking Ekanem and Etemekbo. The chairman speaking will say that the last village in Ekanem is Ikoropan village. And the last village in Etemekbo, connecting these two local government areas, is also Ikoropan village. But then that the water has divided the two villages so that the people of Ikoropan in Ekanem cannot freely interact with the people of Ikoropan in Etemekbo. And it has been like that forever. And the governor has come to fix that kind of road. It reminds me of the scripture, I think in Matthew 12, where the scripture will talk about Jesus Christ and says that the city of Zebulun and Naphtali that had lived in darkness have now seen light by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. I don't know if there is any reason I should not say that Pastor Umo Eno is a typology of Jesus Christ. Maybe that's why he's the golden governor.
He's the governor that is remembering the forgotten. He's the governor that listens to his people. So I want you to tell us, this should be your parting shot. And I think we're happy to have you on the show again because, this is going to be a 3-episode podcast.
I think it's time to start asking for money.
So, you know that a leader knows the way before he can show the way, right? Where is it taking us to? What is the Akwa Ibom of his dream?
Well, the Akwa Ibom of his dream is the happy hour state.
Oh,
now, I say that with a lot of emphasis. I think that was one of the last statements Pastor Umo Eno made during his campaign before the elections. And when that statement came, a lot of people picked it up and started criticizing it. We are used to criticizing everything, even before understanding the import of those things. So people started talking about, beer parlor, drinking beer and all of that. But I think that I can say without equivocation that is a very beautiful destination for Akwa Ibom people. It's more like the summum bonum, of his administration. He hopes to leave Akwa Ibom as a happy state. Now, what does this mean? It would mean that he hopes to leave Akwa Ibom as a state where everybody is satisfied with the impact, the projects, the policies of government. He hopes to leave Akwa Ibom as a state where everybody can say, I participated in the gains and the benefits of this administration. Take, for instance, during the palliative, a woman sent a message to His Excellency the Governor through her daughter. I say this because I've been around. In fact, one of the reasons I can speak like this is because I've been around. A woman sends a message to the governor through her daughter and says, help me thank the governor that for the first time in my life as an Akwa Ibom person, I received 10 cups of rice from the government of Akwa Ibom State. This became important because a lot of people live in this state and know nothing about what government is doing. It's not the first time they are sharing rice, but that rice stops in some houses. But for the first time, the rice got to the poorest of the poor, which we have been hearing only in books and TVs. The real people got to be beneficiaries of it. So it is a happy state we're heading towards. A state where the civil servants are happy with a number, with palliatives increase in their allowances monthly. A state where the government is ready to intervene immediately something happens. The state where the government is responsive. Civil servants happy, politicians happy, students happy, women happy, men happy, elders happy. Imagine when we have the elderly home built in Akwa Ibom State, a place where elders can go out to and just sit and have fun. It's been there for ages. Akwa Ibom Elderly Citizens Assembly with Mbisa Imamobong is seen as their leader. But they have been going to and fro, seeking for where to pitch. But the governor has come that remembers that someday he will be old and is ready to make preparations for them. A state where even the security agencies operating in the state are also happy. Take for instance that some of our people are promoted. Rear Admiral Ebe, Rear Admiral Uko, and we're not waiting for January 15 to celebrate our fallen heroes. We're calling them back home and celebrating them while they live. A state where everybody is happy is where we're heading. And Pastor Umo Eno is very intentional, and he intends that at the end of his administration, by 2031, that everybody is happy. And I think that that's a vision that all of us should follow.
Very interesting discussion we have here, and I must say that I have even come to love Pastor Umo Eno more, hearing all the things that happens behind closed doors. And we have been opportune to have Pastor Morgan Ekanem. I don't know, because maybe you started quoting the scripture, and I'm calling you Pastor Morgan.
Please don't join them. Don't join them. Don't join them.
We have Pastor Morgan Ekanem who has
Thank you.
done great justice to the topic. Pastor Umo Eno, the man, his vision, and his mission. Okay, and that has been the size of the podcast for this episode. My name is Amazing Anebe Francis, and we are asking you to keep following our social media handles. If you have not subscribed, please do. Click on the notification and share this post. Drop your thoughts on this episode. And thank you for joining us. We always be dishing out content that helps you connect with the administration of Pastor Umo Eno, the governor of Akwa Ibom State.